Have you ever seen a movie or heard a song that just made you feel? Hello, everyone. Today I wanted to talk about movies and music that gave me a certain feeling. This feeling is very hard to put into words, and some of you might have experienced this feeling before. I would describe it as somewhere between boredom, anxiety, and the uncanny valley. Something that's trying to be entertaining or pleasant, but for some reason it just comes off as off and it just makes you uncomfortable and really irritated in a very specific way. So for this video, I'm going to do a top 5 of movies and songs that gave me this feeling. A lot of these are going to be old movies. Some of them you might be familiar with, some of you might not. But all of them gave me this feeling, and maybe they gave you that feeling too.
Number 1.
Okay, in our number 1 spot, I wanted to put the 2000s movie Garfield. I think if you have ever seen this movie, you can understand why it would make you bored, but at the same time, just very anxious. Because the movie's live action, they try to give Garfield this realistic look and animation, and it just comes off as very uncanny valley. And I think that's the consensus among everyone who's seen this movie, is Garfield just looks too weird. And the human characters are doing the thing where they're supposed to be acting kind of cartoony because it's supposed to be like a live-action cartoon, which doesn't work because the actors just don't pull it off. And I think the plot is very boring, and I think that's because it's based off of a comic book strip, which is not easy to adapt into a whole movie. And this isn't the only movie that's tried doing this. I remember the live-action version of 101 Dalmatians, and for some reason that movie just didn't bother me the same way Garfield does. I think it's because the acting is better. I wouldn't say it's a great movie, but they definitely pulled off the concept of a live-action cartoon better than Garfield does. I just think there was not enough effort put in, and it's just a badly written movie, and so it just makes sense that it gave me that really weird feeling when I watched it as a kid. Now, Garfield wasn't that bad, which is why it's pretty low on the list, so the next few movies are a lot weirder, and they gave me a much stronger feeling.
Number 2.
Okay, next on our list is the movie Dougal. Definitely up there with weird children's movies. The things that stand out the most about Dougal is its animation and its voice acting. Now, I didn't know this when I was a kid, but this movie was actually redubbed with American voice actors, and the original had a British cast. And that explains a lot about this movie and why it is so weird. Like, a big part of this movie and its advertising was its voice actors.
Featuring Chevy Chase, Judi Dench, Jimmy Fallon, Whoopi Goldberg, William H. Macy, Ian McKellen, Kevin Smith, and Jon Stewart. Dougal.
But the thing is, the dubbing is actually horrible. Like, the lip syncing is terrible.
Hammer time! You know you can't touch this.
And the changes to the dialogue only make the movie worse because all it is just non-stop pop cultural references.
I hope I am pure of heart enough. Whoa, just kind of popped right out. My precious. Kidding.
I don't care if it's a Star Trek convention! Trekkies!
So even though the movie's biggest selling point was all the voice actors they got,
Chevy Chase, Judi Dench.
it just sucks. And the reason why I think it made me feel so weird as a kid is because the non-stop pop cultural references and the weird lip syncing and the kind of weird animation was very overstimulating for me as a kid.
Number 3.
Okay, so next on our list is A Troll in Central Park. And the thing about this movie is I actually really did want to like it when I was a kid because I liked Don Bluth. Like, I knew his work. Like, I loved Secret of Nim and I loved, Land Before Time, but this movie was just different. This movie makes you feel like you're alone with someone else's baby. But at the same time, you are being treated like a baby. I think they made the kid characters way too young. Like, the older brother is just a bratty toddler, and his sister can't even speak, so she just whines and cries and babbles. And Stanley, the main character, always talks in a baby voice. Like, even when he's talking to himself, that's just the way he talks. And that gets annoying fast. So this movie feels less Don Bluth and more like Care Bears. Now, to this movie's credit, it still has good animation. It's still a Don Bluth film, so they put in the effort. Like, you can tell they tried. And if you're the appropriate age, like, I think you can still enjoy this movie. I was just way too old, and I tried watching it a few times, hoping that I would change my mind and like it, but I just never did, and it just made me feel uncomfortable.
Number 4.
In fourth place is, I think, one of the worst comedies I have ever seen. It's Paul Blart Mall Cop. I will forever remember that after I watched this movie, I was depressed for like the whole rest of the day. Like, it just made me feel like shit. The thing that sucks so much about this movie is that it is trying so hard to be funny, and it just fails at every turn, and it is just so sad. Like, the character is so sad.
Are you gonna have pie?
Not tonight, Ma. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm gonna want some pie.
You.
No, I meant now, Ma. Get the pie now.
Oh, okay.
You said it, and I just kind of got that stuck in my head now. And can't really get it out. Pie. Here we go. It really helps heal. And, not always, but sometimes you got to do like the kids say and just say, whatever.
Kids don't talk like that.
Some do, sweetheart. The older ones, okay? I hear them in the mall. Oh, peanut butter. It just fills the cracks of the heart. Go away, pain.
The character Paul Blart is too pathetic. Like, you only get secondhand embarrassment watching him. He is not funny. And, you can make movies with characters that are kind of pathetic. Like, Kung Fu Panda is a good example of a movie where the character kind of starts off as a loser, but he comes out on top at the end. But that's because Po is likable as a character. There is nothing really likable about Paul Blart. He is too pathetic, and he's just too sad to watch.
Number 5.
Now, this is the only song that is on my list, and it is Only Time by Enya. And this is the only thing on my list that I would consider popular and well-liked by the majority of people, just not me. Something about the layered vocals of Enya's singing has always bothered me. Like, it's not like I just hate the song. There's songs that I dislike, but something about this song in particular it's like it hurts my head. It's not, like I said, it's not that I dislike it, it's that it hurts. Like, even now, just thinking about it, my ears are hurting. It might be because I listened to it when I was very, very young, like in kindergarten. So it might be because it was the first time I heard someone singing like that with a layered voice. So maybe to me it was uncanny or strange, and I didn't understand what it was that was making your voice sound like that. The other part of this song that bothered me when I was a child was the lyrics themselves, and I think that's because I interpreted them as being about ambiguity and uncertainty, and that was a big fear of mine. It's less so now as an adult, but when I was a kid, that stuff really freaked me out.
Who can say where the road goes?
I also think that the context in which I listened to this song is also very important, because unlike everything else on this list, this was the only thing that I was forced to listen to. Like, there was never a point where I chose to listen to this song, it was always played for me. Like, it was always played at school during quiet time. And just imagine you're a 6-year-old kid, you're supposed to be reading, sitting quietly, you're not allowed to talk to other kids, and they're just playing this song, and you just have to sit there and wait till it's over. The other place you would always hear this song was at salons and massage parlors. Like, they always played this song because it was really soothing and relaxing. For most people. And the thing is, I always hated going to those kind of places because it usually meant I was going to be sitting around and waiting, either because my mom was getting a haircut, or I was getting a haircut, or my mom was getting a massage, and I was going to just be sitting there waiting for it to be done. And if you weren't just sitting and waiting, you had a stranger talking to you, like one of the hairstylists or a masseuse. They'd be talking to me. And I was never comfortable around strangers, and I didn't like how friendly they were. Going to those places for me was very similar to how it felt to go to the doctors, except in this situation, nobody else is acknowledging that the situation is uncomfortable for me. And I was not the kind of kid who would just say I was uncomfortable or I wanted to leave. I was very silent. I wouldn't say if something was bothering me. And meanwhile, this song is playing that's supposed to be this relaxing, soothing song in this very unrelaxing situation. So this song has become very Pavlovian for me. So with all that in mind, I think it makes perfect sense why this song makes me feel the way it makes me feel. And I don't think there will ever be a song or a movie that will ever top it. It will always have a very special place in my heart, a very painful, special place. Now, as an adult, I have a better understanding of why those movies made me feel the way I did. I think it's the cognitive dissonance of watching a movie for entertainment, which then conflicts with your experience of that movie being terrible. As a kid, I watched mostly good movies, and, as a child, your standards are pretty low. So when a movie was bad for me, I didn't understand that a movie could just be bad, and there was nothing wrong with just turning it off and watching something else. I had this idea in my head that all movies were good, and if I didn't like it, then it just means I just had to watch it again. And when I was really, really young, I actually personified everything, and so I thought if I didn't like a movie that I would hurt the movie's feelings. So I wanted to be nice, and I wanted to watch the movie so the movie wouldn't feel sad. And obviously it's okay not to like everything. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if there are any movies, songs, or video games, any media that gave you this feeling when you were a kid or now, I would love to hear it. I would really like some vindication that, like, this wasn't just something that happened to me, that, like, other people have experienced this too. And, if not, fair.